To heck with this, Vanelli grumbled. Come on, Octi, let's find some real food, she said, pulling Octavia towards the door and exiting onto the busy street in front of the hotel. The views at the top Call Hill were spectacular, with an incredible skyline down each street looking down at the bustling downtown, where the bay visible beyond, or one of the other residential neighborhoods nearby. The fog they had seen coming in from the sea had started to reach downtown, landing a most chill in the air and observing the very tops of the tallest office buildings. Every few minutes a cable car would make its way up or down the middle of the streets, bells chiming and the wheels creaking as it was pulled uphill by the underground cable or raced downhill in a rapid but controlled distance. There was no less than 3 other cafes and bakeries within eyesight of the hotel entrance, but each one provided no more resemblance than the one they had just left. Jesus, this place is expensive. Vanelli's stomach growled as she started marching east downhill towards the bay. Despite her growing hunger, she suddenly refused to back down on her search for a cheap ashtray. This whole neighborhood is overpriced. Well, then, Cobb Hill, if that's the way you want it, we'll look somewhere else. You know, bits aren't exactly an issue for us, Octavia pointed out. Oh no, I'm not packing someplace that thinks that it could pull one over me. The GJ announced, sounding almost insane as she continued to make her way downhill. If we want real food, we have to go where the locals in. What? Why do I see this ending badly? Octavia murmured with a sigh. Because you're stuck in the mud, Vanity said with a smug. Now, come on. I said something on our way up here. I saw something in our way up here. They proceeded downhill with Octavia pointing out several more restaurants. But struggling, the more hungry Vanity got, the pickier she became. Oh, I do that. She began glaring at each place with her friend intended, dismissing it with a incredibly abruptly reason like too foul, too formal. Next, pricey. I'm not in the mood for something cold or meh. Oh yeah, that's what I said to all my films. Meh. Octavia rolled her eyes at Vanelli's stubbornness, knowing her previous experience that Vanelli would not rest until she found someplace suitable, which usually rounded up being some guessery hole in the wall diner that the chillest refused to say who's inside of. Oh, she classy. Here we are, Vanelli cried temporarily. After they had toted several blocks downhill, gesturing at a ornamental whatever. Get that expanded a narrow street holding north. Octavia started, realizing she too had seen this from the taxi ride on the way uphill. The gate, like many of the buildings down the street on the other side, was down in the articular style of the center knees, which with a stone base of the columns holding up a green-tiled, multi-eyed roof. A covered pair of snake-like dragons banded the top of the gate, while 2 stone lions seemed to stand guard on the street. Upon the gate were words in foreign language lettering, consisting of skilled calligraphy instead of standard equestrian script. What do you hope to find in hey what? Octavia yelled, running through the gate to catch up with Finelli, who had set off into the neighborhood. The streets were crowded with flungers who would occasionally have to press up against the side of the street to make way for the carriage passing up the middle of the road. But it wasn't just ponies in this crowd, though. Most of the figures were inquisitive. There were also creatures Octavia had only seen in book illustrations. Hovering above the crowd were the Pegasi were Longina, which looked like Pegasi, but a dragon's head and its scale covered its hide. Mingling with the ponies on the ground were Quillin, who looked like the Longma, but instead of wings and horns and torps atop their heads, their manes and tails seemed equireal, but unlike those of equestrian princesses. What? Which moved as if caught in a gentle breeze. The hair of the Quillin had the flickering quality of flames. Indeed, it took the chillest a moment to realize that they weren't on fire. There was much to look at here. So much that Octavia had trouble taking it all in at once. Red gobbler lantern hanging from strings surrounded over the streets, not yet illuminated due to daylight. The stops they passed held all manner and exotic cafes, from proper lanterns even larger than the ones overhead to supplies covered from jade and huge streets from parchment hanging on the walls that were covered in more examples of the colonnades that seemed to avoid every building. The narrow alleyway branched off from the streets, giving Octavia a glimpse at the life of this neighborhood. Clothing hanging out from the dry form lines departed over the alleys. Elderly ponies sat on chairs in front of their doorsteps, conversating in a foreign tongue or playing some sort of board game with the tiles that made little clicking sounds each time they placed it on the table. Fire escapes were attached to the back facade and almost every building. Inside were electrical wires joined the strings of lettering hanging over the street. The combination of all these individual scenes and sights gave an overall feelings of the barely contained chaos. Looks like the pastries aren't much cheaper here, Octavia commented, glancing at the prices at the windows of the small bakery. Benedict, however, wasn't paying attention. "Aha!" the teacher cried out, gesturing at the narrow three-story building, sandwiched between the neighbors. The door on the ground floor opened into the bustling kitchen. Above the door was a simple sign that read, "Lama Wu." This place looked perfect. Benelli? I believe this is a kitchen, Octavia pointed out. "Well, yeah, but it's also a restaurant, I think." Benelli added to the uncertain tone, "Hey." And you froze on me. She called at the cafe inside, who looked up at her. "Is it a restaurant?" Yes, one of them cried and begged broken equestrian. Smell that vanity and Octavia. This place for eating. Come upstairs, she said graciously towards the staircase at the back of the narrow cramping kitchen. Awesome! The white mare was about to walk in before being held back by her friend. You can't not be serious, Octavia murmured. This place looks filthy. What kind of restaurant makes you walk in through the kitchen? Obviously some place that's so comfortable in their food, they'll let you watch them make it, Vanelli exclaimed. Come on. Oh no, the gray mare said responsively. There's no way Hey! She yelled, feeling herself being dragged inside by the force of her friend's magic. Let me go! Nah, the DJ replied, grinning. We gotta get some real food if it kills you. That's what I'm afraid of, Octavia grumbled under her breath. Vinny led her thoughts through the greasy kitchen and up to the steep, very narrow wooden staircase of the second floor, where waiter was waiting in the dining room, which, like everyone else in the building, was narrow, cramping, covered in a layer of grain, and contained only the most inexpensive, bare-bone furniture possible. On one side of the room was a small elevator shaft used. One side of the room was a small elevator shaft used for carrying plates of food up to the dining room from the kitchen. Vanelli chose a table in front of the room, with her back against a dirty obscure window that looked down from the street. Octavia recently took a seat upside her as the waiter handed them their menus. Anyways, bros, it's been fun. The reason why I did an introduction because, well, I haven't really felt like it. Anyway, I gotta go. This is probably gonna be the last video for today. Probably. Pretty left a good spot. Don't you say, eh? Anyway, as promised, here's some muffins. And hope you guys enjoy them. As always, as I say, don't forget to comment, rate, favorite, subscribe, like, and if you want, you could add me as a contact. Like I don't get much of those. Ha ha ha. Anyway, see you bros tomorrow. Another day, another video. To keep the Dr. Mare away.